Mr. Garage here, and behind me I've got my Pit Boss Whiskey Still smoker. And I want to do a quick review on this thing because I gotta say I have been extremely happy with this thing. It is my first smoker. I'm not an expert. I'm not a guru barbecue guy by any means, other than just barbecue and burgers and stuff on the grill. But some guys at work got me into this, and I'm really thankful they did. I have cooked some amazing meats on it, briskets, pork butts. I mean, we've made some amazing pulled pork, smoked green chili, all kinds of great stuff. And again, this thing has just been super reliable. I think I've got about 185 hours on this thing. I kind of just log it by the meats that I cook and how much we cook. But yeah, 185 hours and not giving any hint of trouble. I mean, I think that's pretty good. After this smoke, I'll actually be at 200 hours. So you can see behind me, I've got a pork butt in it right now. And with this model, there is some pros and cons, and compared to, say, a grill style smoker or pellet smoker. But we'll run through those real quick, and then yeah, we'll talk some more about this smoker. Okay, so gonna go through just a couple of the cons to this particular unit. One, every time you cook on it, obviously because of the shape and the format and the body of this thing, let me walk back a little bit, it's lower to the ground. You've got to get down with it. So you have to kind of get on your knees and to be able to do anything inside of it. Now the grates, there's not a ton of space between the grates. You can actually see that grate mount right there. That's where the top grate would be. I usually take it out because most of the time I'm doing pork butts or larger meats, and there's just really not a lot of room in there. Now just below this, I put a drip plate. It's a big ceramic plate, very thick lip on it, and all the fats and goo and juices and crap like that falls onto the plate. And I found it keeps the meat really moist because all those juices and fats just boil in that plate, and it kind of just keeps everything going. The only maintenance I've had to do on this is just vacuum out the pellets, and that's it. So I have to take out this, they call it a heat tent. I got to take that out. I got to vacuum everything out, make sure everything's nice and clean. And then, of course, I've got to refill the hopper. It's got a 15-pound hopper. It holds a lot of pellets. I usually get 6-7 hours out of one bin of pellets, and before I got to refill. And I've never really had a problem of running out because I always catch it. Got a little cheap Bluetooth Amazon thermometer that's been great. I've been using that a lot. That helps out. But yeah, this is a pork butt I'll be doing. It's probably going to take about 14 hours per the weight and per past experience with it. I usually smoke at about 270, which is a little above the normal smoking temperature, but I don't want to have this taken any longer than that. And the meat's always excellent. I cook to 195, and it's just beautiful. Big thanks to all the Pit Boss guys on the Facebook Pitbook forum, Pit Boss forum. Those guys have been great. They've really been a good resource in teaching on what to do and what not to do. And of course, the guys at work, they've got a couple different brands of smokers, and all of them have brought in some excellent meat. So yeah, we're going to do a startup of this thing, kind of show you what it sounds like, what it looks like when it starts up, and I'll be right back. Startup of this smoker is incredibly easy. So all we do is once it's plugged in, we're just going to press the power button, and you're going to hear the fan kick on. And usually I just prime it a little bit, press and hold, and you'll be able to hear the auger rolling. We'll hear a few little tinks, and you can hear kind of the pellets dropping down in. And the igniter is going to get going here in a second. And that's really all there is to it. So once I start getting smoke out of it, and it starts kind of bellowing a little bit, then I'll go ahead and turn it up to my cook temp. I'll shut the door and just leave it. And that's the coolest part, set and forget. So I'm going to kind of back away from this guy for a second. There we go, got our first signs of smoke starting to come out. And I mean, everything started up normally. That's awesome. So then I'm going to go down to my controller. I'm going to set to the temp that I'm going to cook this at. And we're going to go ahead and crank this up just to 275. And now that we got smoke, we'll just go ahead and shut our door. Here in a minute, that thing's going to start smoking like a freight train. So once it gets past about 250 degrees, the smoke will die down. That's completely normal. And it'll kind of every few minutes you'll see a big puff of smoke, and that's just more pellets dumping in. But yeah, that's really all there is to it. You can see the chimney stack. This is adjustable. You can actually twist it to raise and lower it, kind of spin it, but I leave it all the way down. That seems to give me stable temps. I've never had a flame out or anything like that. I've seen some other people talk about that, but I'm in Arizona too. It's like 65 degrees out, so it's nice and warm out here. So yeah, that's the startup procedure. And again, I just can't recommend this smoker enough if you get it for a really good price. I think there's a lot of benefits going to the grill style smokers, but for the price I paid for this on clearance at Walmart, you know what? This thing has been great, and it's produced a lot of great meat. So yeah, if you guys get one of these, I don't have any complaints other than the bending down and the small rack space. Other than that, I mean, if you're only cooking one thing, two things at a time, fantastic. So I want to do a little closing video. It's been cooking for a few hours here, and previously I just talked about some of the cons of the unit, really, which was the advertised big rack space, but really in real world use, not that much rack space. Talked about that, and I've talked about just having to crouch down to get into the unit, but there's so many pros to this thing. Like, for one, it was dirt cheap for a brand new unit, and at the time I wasn't sure if I was going to get into this, and you know, it was an affordable way to get into it. At 199 bucks, what I paid plus tax, I mean, I've got no regrets in that price. I'll just say that, no regrets. If you get these things used, you can probably get it for a lot less than I paid, or some of the Walmarts have them on clearance even less. So you know what, those are good deals. Sorry for the camera focus. Sun's setting here in Arizona, and it's getting a little dark out here. But yeah, overall, I mean, a 15-pound hopper. It's not like the cheapy clearances at Lowe's with the 456 model. I think those have a 5-pound hopper. That's just way too small. 15 pounds is about the minimum I'd ever want after using this, because I don't want to come check on this all night. So 15 pounds seems to be really good. Temps are really stable on this unit. I usually see about maybe plus or minus 7 degrees. So that means maybe even, you know, a little more than that, maybe 9 degrees. That means it can swing upwards of 9 degrees from, say, the 275, and it can swing maybe 7 to 9 degrees below that. So temps are relatively stable. Again, pellet smokers have to dump pellets in. They've got to reheat them and burn more, so temps go up, and then as the pellets burn off, the temp drops down. It's just nature of the beast, from what I understand. Again, I'm no expert on this. I'm learning all this stuff just like you guys probably are. But internal temps, I'm kind of a nerd, so at my job I have a thermal imaging camera, and I've done scans on this unit, and overall the whole body stays very uniform in temperature. I can say the little thermometer that comes on the front's pretty darn inaccurate. That's never been a strong point on this thing, is the thermometer on the front. I usually just go by my Bluetooth controller, and I lost my little clip for my Bluetooth, so I've got the secondary probe just laying on top of the meat, so that's showing way off at 109 degrees. That's really not what it is. My Bluetooth controller almost always matches the main controller, which is interesting because I've got the probe right behind kind of where the thermometer is when it's just sitting free air, and it matches really well in the controller, so I think they did a pretty good job on programming. I'm not going to really go into pellets because I'm not an expert like some of the guys on what works great, other than just I generally use competition blend with a 50-50 mix of the charcoal. Right now I'm using mesquite because that's all I've got. They kind of ran out of the competition blend at Walmart, so hey, that works for me. I'm trying it out. I think those would be pretty good. And I guess the last little comment in the hopper, the only thing I've noticed that I've got to pay attention to, about every 4 hours, maybe 5 hours, we start getting this like divot right here where the auger is, and if I let that go too far down, it may actually bridge to the point where the auger will basically lose pellets. You have to reprime it, but it's only happened to me one time, and that was my mistake. I let it go way too long. But every few hours I come out and I just kind of wipe the pellets over. Notice I don't use that metal grate that came with the unit that kind of just screws in. Just take that grate out, because you can't ever level your pellets with that grate. I think it's just so they don't get sued in case somebody cuts their fingers off in the auger. But yeah, I mean, overall, again, if I had to do this over, I would probably go a grill style, simply because I think it's an easier format to use. But is there anything wrong with this smoker other than just having to bend down and a little bit of small rack space? Absolutely not. It just cooks meats. It cooks them uniform. It cooks them very, very well. It's just made such good meals. And again, they're really inexpensive. So if it's, you don't have a big budget, then this might be an option if you can find it on the used market or find it on clearance. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. So I appreciate you guys watching. As always, if you like my random videos that I do, subscribe, and I will catch you later, or see you on the Pit Boss groups on Facebook. Catch you later. Now this is perfect.